Hey everybody, good to see you again. We're working on Bordogni number 33 today. And this one has an interesting situation. We'll talk about it in a minute. I'll just go ahead and play through it and listen and see what you can hear. These are nice tunes, and they help us to concentrate on the musical qualities in our playing. That's what they're really useful for. The little anomaly that I was going to point out is I think there's an editor's mistake. And right at the beginning it says andante and it says eighth note equals 54. So I'm going to check 54 with my metronome and see where it actually is. So that's kind of what I was playing, only I was playing 54 to the dotted quarter note, not the eighth note. So it's marked 3 times as slow as I played it. Now, that's interesting because it's really good to play things very, very slowly. And the reason is it's so much easier to hear and feel what's going on. It can be very annoying. You can start to overthink, you can start to react poorly physically because the feedback is completely different when you're playing it very slowly. So I'm going to try and play it at 54 to the eighth note, at least for a little while. I don't want myself or you to get too bored. Let's see where I was. Yeah, I was way faster than 54. So here's the moral of the story. If you could play it at 54 to the 8th note and play the same phrasing, the same line, the same expression, show the same structure in the piece, you're doing really well. And that's the reason why to practice it that way. So I've been challenged many times in the orchestra by conductors who wanted to play something much, much slower than the traditional way of doing it. And it wasn't so much a physical challenge, it was trying to get the music to come through at that extremely slow tempo. And I got a lot of encouragement from my colleagues when they heard me playing these things. One, I won't mention any names, but Lieutenant Kiji was, Prokofiev was one of the pieces, and it's got the offstage solos and then the wonderful troika movement. And it was just, it didn't feel right. But I had to play it in such a way that I was bringing the music in exactly the same, with the same energy, the same life as if I was playing it in the faster tempo that felt more natural. So any time you have a slow tempo, especially an exceedingly slow tempo like what I just played, that's something to keep in mind. And I'll mention that at various points when we're playing extremely lugubrious music in other video episodes. Okay, something you want to keep in mind when you're playing any kind of music is there is a structure to it. Now, I'm not talking about form and analysis per se or music theory. I'm talking about that there are sections, there are sentences, there are paragraphs, there are chapters in it. And I suppose I recognize those by ear, and that, excuse me, that's the best way to recognize what's going on in the music. And so, messing with the tempo again, I'm going to play it a lot faster this time in order to show you the sections. So to me, that's the first section. And then it makes a transition, and music is all about transition. It's transitioning from one moment to the next. And we have to stay mentally engaged for that to happen, and musically engaged. So I'm going to play that last phrase, and then you'll hear the next section begin. So now you can tell this whole section is in minor mode, and it has a different emotional feel to it. So something that's very important, it's more something to listen to when you're listening to really very expressive musicians, accomplished musicians play, on all instruments of course, and voice, is how do they set up the thing that's going to come next that's different music. So you heard a couple of different sections, the opening section about 3 lines, and then going into the minor section. And then at the end of the minor section, which is the middle part of the piece, it comes out of that, and now you have to set up the fact that you're returning to the same music that you were playing at the beginning. Of course, the audience is going to hear that, but you know that it's coming. And so the way you play can help to set it up. This is not something that's calculated. Like I said, it's, we're not thinking of it in terms of theory or analytics. It's something that is felt. And it's a timing thing. All the expressive capabilities have something to do with it. So I'm going to play the transition out of the minor and back into the original theme. I'll start at bar 26, I think. So you can hear the return to the original part. What I want to encourage you to do is, before you even play a piece on your instrument, look at the music and hear it in your mind. Learn it until you can hear it in your mind. This is what This is what every good musician does, but it's an amazing skill. This is what a real conductor does. They're not just as Sergio Zoa, who I played under for many years, like to say, "I'm not traffic cop." In other words, he's not just up there telling people what to do or where to go. They already know. They already know where to go. What he's doing is showing the musical intention. And that is exactly what you are doing when you're a soloist. So how do the different sections get set up? It's actually pretty simple. And this is a basic thing that we'll come back to, that you need to come back to over and over again. Again, especially listening to people, great players do this. It has to do with timing, which means that the timing is not metronomic. And there are other things too, the color of the sound. It mostly comes from your attitude and from your awareness that there are different sections in the piece. So if I go from the minor section again, you'll hear that I'm not metronomic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the eighth note going by tonguing it through the longer notes so you can hear this. So all I'm dealing with is flow. The flow, it's the way you can picture it is if you're riding your bicycle and there's a slight hill and you start going uphill. If you're putting the same amount of energy in, it's going to slow down a little bit, and then when you crest the hill, you're going to pick up speed again. So it's very organic, very natural feeling. That's what you're looking for. If there's any starting, stopping, pushing, pulling, anything jerky, anything that's not smooth, in traditional music, that's not a good effect. That's not a good effect. So this is something to really, really listen to. I think that's probably enough today. There's always more to discover, and I encourage you to do so as you work through this book. I'll meet you for the next session whenever you have time. Have a great day. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.